Hey everybody, Kneecap here. This video is for the upcoming changes for Warriors in 7.1.5. As many people probably know, the official patch notes have not been released, but these are ones that are pretty close or are going to be the actual changes of what comes out, hopefully this coming week in 7.1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through. I'm going to do all the changes to Arms, Fury, and Prot, and kind of go through them in that order. Again, this is not 100% official. This is just, it's definitely close to official, I guess you could say. So starting with Arms, basically every ability on Arms is getting a 5% damage buff. So just a overall 5% buff. That's kind of low compared to some of the other classes, but Warriors are pretty strong as long as you know what you're doing. So it's not a big deal. So going to the talents, Anger Management. Every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Battle Cry, Last Stand, Shield Wall, and Demoralizing Shout by 1 second. The change in that is adding Demoralizing Shout to the list of things. Fervor of Battle. Whirlwind deals 45% increased damage to your primary target, and that's different from a 30% increase before. The talent In for the Kill. Mortal Strike refunds 30 rage when used against targets that are below 20% health. That's up from 20 rage. So far, all we have is buffs. Ravager throws a whirling weapon at the target that inflicts 337.5% of attack power damage times 7 to all enemies within 8 yards over 8 seconds. And that is quite a buff of, it's actually a buff of 67.5% on that, up from 270. The Ren talent wounds the target, causing 108% of attack power as bleed damage instantly, and additional 559% of attack power over 15 seconds. And the cost was changed from 15 rage down to 10 rage. So basically, they just kind of reworked the way that talent works and also increased the amount that it does. The Shockwave sends a wave of force in a frontal cone, causing 47.5% of attack power, damage and stunning enemies within 10 yards for 3 seconds. Cooldown reduced by 20 seconds if it strikes at least 3 targets. So that is just 4 seconds to 3 seconds on the stun, so that's actually a nerf for Shockwave on the stun duration. Sweeping Strikes. Mortal Strike and Execute hit a second nearby target, and they changed that to 2 additional nearby targets. So Sweeping Strikes is hitting 3 things now. Titanic Might increases the duration of Colossal Smash by 16 seconds, but reduces its effectiveness by 20 seconds. They got rid of the reducing the effectiveness, so it's just going to increase the duration. So that's a nice buff as well. So that might be something people want to take. Trauma, Slam and Whirlwind now cause the target to bleed for 25% additional damage over 6 seconds, up from 20%. As for specialization, Hamstring, it maims the enemy for more damage now. It was 5% and now it's up to 105%. So basically the damage before was negligible and they raised that up. Now let's go into the honor talents. Obviously I don't have all of mine, but that's fine. Honor talents, duel. This is a new talent, guys. You challenge the target to a duel. While challenged, all damage you and the target deal to all targets other than each other is reduced by 50%. Last 8 seconds, level 25 talent replaces Shadow of the Colossus. This is actually pretty cool because when you're challenged to a duel, that means that they really can't peel off of you. They can, but they won't do any damage to anybody but you. So it's kind of a way to peel off your healer, peel off an ally, just kind of causing them to do damage to anyone but you. Or you could use it on them, run away, or you could just use it on them and just to fight them. I think that's a pretty cool talent. It's a new talent, and we'll see how it goes. Echo Slam. Colossal Smash deals an additional 5% of the target's total health and damage 2.5 seconds later. Damage done ignores all armor, and that also replaces Shadow of Colossus. Well, that was removed and replaced with Shadow of the Colossus, I'm sorry. Intercept. Run at high speed towards an ally of enemy. When targeting an enemy, Intercept will root them for 1.5 seconds. When targeting an ally, Intercept will intercept all melee and ranged attacks against them within 10 seconds while the target remains within 10 yards. It generates 20 rage and this ability replaces charge. This was removed and replaced with Pain Train. Reduces the cooldown of Battle Cry by 15 seconds, and uh, Battle Cry also affects nearby allies within 10 yards. Shadow of the Colossus. Charge resets the cooldown of Colossal Smash, and rage gained from charge increased by 15. That's the change to it. The rage gained from charge is increased by 15. Pain Train, I already kind of told you what that is from the last one, replacing Intercept. Sharpened Blade, when activated, your next mortal strike will deal 30% increased damage and reduce healing taken by 70%. Cooldown was changed from 45 to 25, so that's a nice change there to get those healers down. New talent, Storm of Destruction. It's going to replace Wrecking Crew, and it reduces the cooldown of Bladestorm by 50%, and Bladestorm now applies Mortal Wound to all targets you hit. That's pretty cool too. New talent, War Banner. You throw down a War Banner at your feet, rallying your allies, increases movement speed by 30%, and reduces the duration of all incoming crowd control effects by 50%. To all allies within X yards of the War Banner, and it lasts 15 seconds. And you would replace Pain Train with that. Wrecking Crew. Mortal Strike's effect now also applies to all nearby enemies within 8 yards of the target, and that was what was replacing Storm of Destruction if you do that. And just to clarify, replaced means you have to choose one on that row. You can't have all of them, obviously. So let's go ahead and now go to the Fury specialization. Not a ton of changes to Fury, and it will look like. Just like Arms are getting a 5% damage buff. Not big, but not, I'll take it. As far as talents go, Dragon Roar is getting a little bit of a nerf here. It's going to do the same thing it does now. Roar explosively, 162% attack power, damage to all enemies within 8 yards. It increases the damage you deal by 16%, down from 20% for 6 seconds. The talent Fresh Meat Bloodthirst has a 60% increased critical strike chance against targets above 80% health, so it's basically going to always crit as long as you have gear at this point. You should probably at least in the 20s, if not closer to 30. So you are going to basically always crit when they're above 80% health. That's an interesting change. Frowling Berserker, when you reach 100 rage, your damage is increased by 15% and your movement speed by 30% for 6 seconds. I guess it's a slight upgrade. Damage increased by 15%, 5%. I mean, that's 5% more damage on your rampages, I suppose. Outburst, Berserker Rage now causes Enrage, and its cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. That's what's the cooldown right now? 1 minute 45 seconds. That's still a long cooldown. That talent is still going to be worthless. Reckless Abandon, Battle Cry lasts 2 seconds longer and generates 100 rage. That's interesting. And that, I believe it just used to generate 100 rage, and now it makes your Battle Cry last longer. So now we have the Shockwave. It's the same as the Arms. War Machine. Killing a target grants you 30% haste and movement speed for 15 seconds. That's nice for leveling and questing. And Wrecking Ball. Your attacks have a chance to make your next Whirlwind deal 250% increased damage, up from 200%. So a little bit of a buff to the AoE there. Similar to Arms getting an AoE buff as well. As far as Honor Talents, there's only one change. I'll still switch over. Honor Talent change is Death Wish, increases the damage done by 5% at the cost of 10% of your health, stacks up to 15 times from 5 times. Cooldown change from none to 10-second cooldown. So that is all the changes for Fury, not a lot. Lastly will be Protection, where there is actually a ton of changes, and I'll try to go through them all for you. Alright, so Protection Warrior changes. Anger Management, it's the same as I said earlier. It's going to add Demoralizing Shout to your Anger Management talent. Best Served Cold. Revenge deals 5% more damage per target hit, up to 5. Now requires level 45 down from 75. Tier 3 talent in place of Ultimatum. Booming Voice. Demoralizing Shout also generates 60 rage, up from 50, and increases damage you deal to affected targets by 25%. That's a nice little buff there. Crackling Thunder increases the radius of Thunderclap by 50%, down from 100%. New talent, Devastator. Your auto attacks deal an additional 278% times, well, a whole long formula, frankly. Physical damage, generate 5 rage, and have a 30% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Shield Slam. And you would replace Best Serve Cold with Devastator. Heavy Repercussions, Shield Slam extends the duration of Shield Block by 1 second, and Shield Block increases the damage of Shield Slam by an additional 30%. Into the Fray, you gain 3% haste for each enemy within 15 yards, up to 5 enemies. It's just up from 10 yards. Never Surrender, Ignore Pain will ignore up to 100% more damage based on your missing health, up from 75%. Probably some necessary buff there for Nighthold. Ravager, same as earlier, just increasing the damage on Ravager. And it also is going to increase your parry chance by 35%, up from 30. Safeguard, intercepting a friendly target will now causes 30%, up from 20%, of their damage taken to transfer to you for 6 seconds. Shockwave, the same exact thing. Ultimatum, your Shield Slam critical strikes cause your next focus rage to cost no rage. That was removed, as I said earlier, and replaced. Vengeance, ignore pain, it reduces the rage cost of your next revenge by 35%. And Revenge reduces the rage cost of your next Ignore Pain by 35%. So basically they changed Focus Rage with Revenge is what they did on that talent. Warbringer, Charge now deals 108% of attack power damage to all enemies within 5 yards of the target and stuns them for until cancelled. And it was 1.5 seconds and now it's until you cancel it. Warlord's Challenge reduces the cooldown of Berserker Raid by 15 seconds. And that's the change to it. Other than that, it's the same. As far as little specializations go, you have Focus Rage. Focus your rage on the next shield slamming, increasing damage by 50%, stacking up to 3 times, unaffected by global cooldown. And that was removed. Intercept, running at a high speed. It's the same as I talked about earlier. When targeting an enemy, Intercept will reduce the target's movement speed, so it'll slow them for 6 seconds, but has a minimum range of 8 yards. When targeting an ally, Intercept will next melee ranged attack against the ally, and while the target remains within 10 yards, and that'll generate 15 rage. Revenge, swing in a wide arc, dealing 440% of attack power, damage to all enemies. That's a 100% increase from 340 to 440 to be specific. Your successful dodges and parries and your next revenge to become free. That they took that part out. Your successful dodges and parries reset the remaining cooldown on revenge up to once per 3 seconds. Cost changed from none to 30 rage, and cooldown changed from 9 second to 3 second. Shield block. Raise your shield, blocking every melee attack against you for 6 seconds. These blocks have critical blocks. Same as always, but it's just cost change from 10 rage to 15 rage. Shield Slam slams the target with your shield, causing the same amount of attack power as before. Devastate, Thunderclap, Revenge have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown of Shield Slam, so that's a nice little change there. And Thunderclap has its AoE damage increased as well, and it generates 5 rage. Alright, now the honor talents for protection. Bodyguard, protect an ally causing 40% of physical damage they take to be transferred to you. When the target takes physical damage, your Shield Slam instead of Revenge. Cooldown has a 30% chance to be reset. Bodyguard is cancelled if the target is further than 15 yards from you, and it lasts 1 minute. Only one target can be bodyguarded at a time. Ready for battle. Rage gain from charge increased by 15. Tenderizer, auto attacks. Tenderizer was removed and replaced with Disarm. I'll go over Disarm quickly. But artifact traits, Shield Slam and Thunderclap instead of Revenge generate 50% increased rage during Demoralizing Shout. And I'll go over Disarm really quick because that's back in the game. Disarms enemies' weapons and shield for 8 seconds. Disarm creatures deal significantly reduced damage, and it replaces Blood Hunt. That is quite a lot of changes. A lot of them were to protection, and probably about as much as Fury and Arms combined. But That's about it for this. Hopefully, those are going to be the correct changes for 7.1.5 that will hopefully be launching this coming week. As always, thumbs up and sub, it helps me out a lot. Hopefully, this information helped you out, and have a good one.